Hello children, how are you? How was your Chag HaShavuot? Did you get ice cream? Did you have a delicious meal with your family? Did you learn Torah? Did you have a Har Sinai cake? I want to know all about your Shavuot. Today, I have a story for you. It's a story about a very special person. And I'm going to start the story and you're going to find out. You ready? So, the story happened in Eretz Yisrael. Do you know where Eretz Yisrael is? It's a special land of Israel. Now, Eretz Yisrael, there was no food. There was a time of famine. A famine is when there's no food growing. So people were really hungry. Now, one family of Elimelech and Naomi, and they had two children. They had Machlon and they had another boy named Kilion. This family went to find a land with food. They went to the land of Moab. They went to the land of Moab where there was lots of food. So Elimelech and Naomi and their two sons moved from Eretz Yisrael and they moved to the land of Moab. Let's put them here in Moab. This is Moab. Naomi, Elimelech, and the two boys. Can you see them? Now they live in Moab. Now in Moab, there was a very special girl. Her name was Ruth. Can you see Ruth? This is a very special girl. She lived in Moab, but she didn't like living in Moab. Do you know why? Remember when Hashem wanted to give the Torah and he asked all the nations? Remember one of the people was Moab, Ammon and Moab? Let me remind you. Remember Ammon and Moab? So Moab, remember they didn't want to speak kindly and respectfully. They don't want to use manners. So Ruth, she lived in Moab, but she did not like how the people of Moab were not being kind and respectful. She didn't like the way the people in Moab behaved. She thought to herself, that's not kind. That's not nice. These people are not the way that I like to behave. They don't share my values. I don't like how they're behaving. And then one day, she was walking along the street and she met this family from Eretz Yisrael. And she saw how they spoke nicely to each other. And she saw how they were respectful to each other. And Ruth liked this family, Elimelech and Naomi's family. She became friendly with them. She saw that they had kind ways and that they believed in Hashem. Ruth loved them and loved the Torah and Hashem, the people that they came from. Ruth began to appreciate this family. And so now Ruth wasn't just a regular, ordinary girl. She came from a princess, from a palace. She was a princess. Did you know that? Ruth was a princess. Princess Ruth. She lived in the palace. But she didn't like living in the palace. She didn't like the way the people behaved around her. She liked this Jewish family. And so one day when one of the boys said to her, Ruth, Ruth, will you marry me? Ruth said yes. She wanted to marry into this family. She really liked this family and how they behaved and their customs and their Torah. Ruth really wanted to join. So Ruth, she had to say goodbye to her father and her mother and all the luxury she had in the palace. And she went to live with this Jewish family. Now she wasn't going to be a rich girl, a rich princess anymore, but she was okay because she loved the ways of these people, of the Jewish people, of this Jewish family. Well, before I continue, this boy, so this is the daddy, this is one son, and the other son married another girl from Moab. Her name was Orpah. This boy and Orpah got married. See, so we have Ruth and one son. We have the other son with Orpah. We have Naomi and Elimelech, the mom and dad. You see that? Now, a very sad thing happened, friends. Elimelech passed away. Bye, Elimelech. And also the two boys passed away. This boy passed away, and this boy passed away. Maybe they passed away from corona or other virus. I don't know. But all the people that were left was Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth. Naomi decided that she's going to go back to Eretz Yisrael. She's not going to stay in Moab anymore. But she knew that in Eretz Yisrael there was no food. So she told her daughter-in-laws, Naomi and Orpah and Ruth, to go back to their families. She said, it's okay, you go back to your family, and I'll go back to Eretz Yisrael. So Orpah said, okay, mommy, bye. And she went back to her family in Moab. But Ruth said to Naomi, can you see? Let me bring it a bit closer. I'll bring it closer like this. Ruth said to Naomi, Naomi, I'm not going back to my family. My family is not kind. I'm going to stay with you. Naomi said to Ruth, but Ruth, my sweetheart, listen to me. I'm going back to Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, there's no food. There's a famine. And I have no money. It's going to be really hard. I can't provide for you. We're going to be struggling. I can't promise you anything. And Ruth said to her mother-in-law, dear mother-in-law, I know that it's not going to be easy, but I want to come with you anyways, because I love the Torah and I love the Jewish people, and I want to come with you. So Naomi and Ruth traveled to Eretz Yisrael together. They traveled from Moab all the way to Eretz Yisrael. Now, Ruth and Naomi were very tired from their trip. But you know what Ruth said? She said, Mother, Naomi, Mother dear, why don't you go rest? And I'm going to go to the field and get us some food. So Naomi said, okay. She went to rest over there. And Ruth went all the way to the field. When Ruth got to the field, she sat down to rest. She was so tired. And when she was sitting, all of a sudden she heard a voice. The voice said, don't be shy. Welcome. Why don't you come and gather some corn, and so that you're not hungry? And look at this person. This was Boaz. Can you say Boaz? Boaz was in charge of this whole field. He was the owner of this field. And he saw Ruth resting, and he told her, come and collect some corn so you're not hungry. So Ruth went and collected some corn. She said, thank you, Boaz. She went and collected some corn. And Ruth was going to go, when all of a sudden, Boaz said to Ruth, Ruth, come, Ruth. Don't go yet. Come and collect some payah. Ruth said, ooh, what's payah? And Boaz said, well, it says in the Torah that when we harvest our field, we leave the corner of our fields for the poor people. Ruth said, wow, your Torah is so kind. Thank you, Boaz. And she went and collected more wheat from the field, more corn and grain from the field. She collected it in her basket. Let's get her basket. And she put it in her basket, and she was about to be on her way, when all of a sudden Boaz came back and said, Ruth, don't go. go and collect leket?" Ruth said, "Boaz, thank you, but what is leket?" And Boaz said, "Well, in the Torah it says that when we have a field of wheat or corn and the farmers are gathering and collecting all their wheat and corn, if we drop some on the floor, we mustn't go pick it up. Do you know who that wheat is for? It's for the poor people." So Boaz said, "Why don't you go and collect the leket from my field?" Ruth said, "Oh, Boaz, thank you. That is so kind of you." And Ruth went and collected leket and put it in her basket. Now her basket was getting so full, she was ready to go, when Boaz stopped her again and said, "Ruth, don't go. Why don't you come and collect shikha?" And Ruth said to Boaz, "Oh, Boaz, that's so kind of you. Thank you. But what's shikha?" Boaz said, "Well, it says in the Torah that if a farmer forgets some bundles of wheat when they're after they finish farming their wheat, they mustn't come back and get it. If they forget it, they have to leave it for the poor people." Ruth said, "Wow, what a kind Torah you have, who thinks about the poor people in the land. Thank you, Boaz. I'll go and collect shikha." So Ruth went and collected more bundles of wheat and put it in her basket. Now her basket was flowing with tons of food. She was going to have food for a long time, so she was so excited to go. She said, "Boaz, thank you so much. I'm going to go now." Boaz said, "Okay, Ruth, you can go, but I wanted you to come back and say hi to me." Boaz really loved Ruth. He saw what a kind and noble girl she was. And Ruth said, "Bye, Boaz." And Ruth went to give her mother-in-law, Naomi, the food that she had found. You see? So they had plenty and plenty of food. Now Boaz really liked Ruth. He wanted to find out who was that girl. So he asked some of his friends, and they said, "That is Naomi's daughter-in-law." Boaz said, "Oh wow, she's so special. She's so kind. I want to marry that girl." Now Ruth, on this next to Naomi, said, "Naomi, you won't believe what happened when I went to get this delicious wheat and corn. I met Boaz, the owner of the field, and he was so kind to me." Naomi said, "Oh wow, that is great, Ruth." And then Boaz wanted to marry Ruth. And he said to her, "Ruth, I would like to marry you. You're such a kind girl. You're such a special girl. I would like to marry you." And Ruth said, "Okay, Boaz, I like you too." And Ruth and Boaz got married. And you know, they were very special. Do you know why? Because they had a child and they had some grandchildren. So they had Oved, who had Yishai, and their grandson Yishai had a bunch of sons, and the youngest son, his name was David. Do you know who that David was? That was David HaMelech. Ruth and Boaz had some very special children, and one of them was David HaMelech, and David HaMelech is the grandfather of Mashiach. Ruth and Boaz are the grandparents of Mashiach. They're so special. You see that? And that's the end of the story, children. And that is the story of Ruth. Now, do you know we read this story on Shavuot? So that's why I'm telling you the story, because we just had Shavuot and we read the story of Ruth called Megillat Ruth. She's so special. All right, say bye to Ruth. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, children. See you later.